Who will ever marry her? Not a single man in this village will dare. Let her keep dreaming.
The village of Enugu was beautiful. Tall palm trees swayed in the air. Birds sang every morning. The river shone like silver under the sun. Small mud houses stood in neat rows. Smoke curled from cooking fires. The village looked happy, peaceful, perfect. But for one girl, it was anything but peaceful. Her name was Amara. She lived at the very edge of the village in a mud house. She was very, very big because she loves eating too much and she has a poor hygiene. Her clothes didn't fit properly. She looked older than her age and she smelled bad because of her weight gain. Whenever she walked through the village, people stared. Not with kindness, not with care. They stared with disgust. One morning, the sun barely peeked over the red earth road. Women were already walking to the well, pots balanced on their heads, chatting and laughing. Then Amara appeared. She carried a heavy bucket of water. Each step was slow. Each step made her arms ache. The whispers started instantly. "There goes stinky Amara," one woman said. "Look at her tummy," another muttered. "She hasn't washed in days, I guess." Children ran past her, covered their nose. "Ew, she smells! Fat Amara, fat Amara!" One boy threw a small stone at her feet. Another tugged her torn wrapper and ran away giggling. Amara's hands shook. Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't cry. She swallowed the tears and kept walking. Some men leaned on a tree. They shook their heads. "Too fat, too dirty. No man will marry that." Amara heard every word. Everyone cut into her like a knife. Another day, she reached the river and bent to fill her bucket. Her hand slipped. The bucket fell, and she fell on the floor. Water spilled everywhere, splashing onto the red dust. Women stepped back quickly. "Careful! Don't splash that water on us." No one helped her. Amara picked up the bucket slowly. Her cheeks burned red. She wanted to disappear, but she carried the water home anyway. At home, she worked harder than anyone. She swept the dusty floor. She cooked the little food they had. She washed clothes. She fetched water again and again. Her father was worried about his daughter's future. He was a poor farmer. Outside, the village kept talking whenever Amara passed. "Stinky girl, monster, too fat to marry." Each word hit her like a stone. She pretended not to hear, but inside her heart ached. One afternoon, a man from the village came to see her. His name was Obi. He had heard about Amara from her father and wanted to see if she could be his wife. Amara hurried to clean the house as best as she could, her heart beating fast. Her father waited silently, trying not to show how worried he was. He knew his daughter had been teased by the village for years and feared Obi might reject her just like the others. Obi sat quietly, waiting to see Amara. He looked calmly. Every sound in the room seemed louder, and her hands shook as she tried to appear composed. She stepped forward slowly, trying to hold her head high. Each step felt heavy, but she reminded herself to be brave. She wanted to show that she was more than what the villagers said about her. Obi's eyes scanned her quickly, and his face changed. "I cannot," he said sharply. "She smells, and she's far too big. I cannot marry her." Amara felt her chest tighten as the words hit her like stones. He turned and walked away without another word. Silence fell over the compound, heavy and sharp. The moment he left, voices rose outside. "He refused her," someone shouted. "I told you she would never marry another," laughed. "No man will ever want that girl." Every word cut deep, but Amara held her head low and kept silent. Weeks later, another man came. He tried to be polite. He looked at Amara, then he shook his head. "Even if she bathed in the river for a whole year, I would not touch her." Another man came, another. Each refused, each left. Some ran away immediately. The village whispered louder each time. "She will never marry. She is cursed. No man wants her." Amara stopped smiling. She stopped looking people in the eye. Her head hung low. Market day arrived. The village square was alive with color. Bright fabrics, fresh fruits, drums beating softly. Amara walked through to buy fruit. A group of men saw her. One laughed loudly. "Look, the girl who thinks she will marry. She smells worse than a goat." People laughed. Some covered their noses. Amara froze. She wanted to run. Her feet would not move. A woman whispered loudly, "Who will marry her, even in 100 years?" Amara dropped the bag of fruits. The grains scattered in the dust. No one helped her. She bent slowly, picked it up, and walked away, each step heavier than the last. That night, she cried quietly when no one could hear. One evening, her father called the village men to the house. "If anyone will marry my daughter, I will give my only farmland. I will give goats. I will give what I have," he said. His voice shook with hope and fear. The men looked at Amara. They shook their heads. No one said, "I cannot." Another laughed awkwardly. "Even with land, no. She is the fattest girl in the village." They left, her father on his knees begging. He looked older than before. Amara felt she had broken something inside him. Then the news came. A young prince from a nearby kingdom was coming soon. He would choose a bride from the village. Girls bought new dresses, smiled and walked proudly. They were preparing. Everywhere Amara looked, girls were glowing. She looked at herself. Tangled hair, heavy body, no hope. Her chest felt empty. That night, Amara sat alone in the dark. She held a cracked mirror. She looked at her face. Tears fell quietly. "I will prove them wrong," she whispered, "even if it takes everything." Her voice was soft, but inside something had changed. The crying stopped. Her face became still, calm, too calm. The next morning, she walked past a group of men. They laughed. "Imagine the prince seeing her. He will run away. He won't touch her with a stick." Laughter exploded. Amara stopped. The world seemed to pause. Then she continued walking. But this time her eyes were different. Not broken, not crying. Quiet, strong. Inside her chest, something had awakened. The forest at the edge of the village was cool and quiet. Birds chirped softly, and sunlight peeked through the tall green trees. But for Amara, the forest was not peaceful. She ran her hands over her face and cried. The villagers' laughter and whispers still rang in her ears. "I cannot stay like this," she whispered to herself. "I must change, even if no one believes I can." She was looking around until she stumbled upon a small clearing. There, sitting on a wooden stool, was an old woman. Her hair was grey, her eyes sharp, and her smile kind but knowing. "Child," the woman said in a soft voice, "why are you crying in my forest?" Amara told her everything, the teasing, the whispers, the rejections. She even told her about the prince coming to the village. The old woman nodded slowly. "I am Mama Ife. I can help you transform, but it will not be easy. Oh, you will sweat, you will stumble, many will laugh at you, but if your heart is strong, you will endure." Amara's eyes widened. I will do anything. I want to prove them wrong." Mama Ife smiled. "Then you must stay with me, child. You cannot leave until you have learned. Your father must agree." The next morning, Amara's father knelt outside her small mud house and prayed. "God, please protect my child. Let her find strength and courage." Then he gave her his blessing. Amara kissed his hand and walked toward the forest. Mama Ife's hut was small but full of herbs, clay pots, and bundles of dried plants. She handed Amara a heavy bucket. "Today you will walk to the river with this. Tomorrow we lift stones. The next day firewood." Amara groaned, but she nodded. "Yes, Mama Ife." The days passed slowly. Amara ran along the riverbank, carrying a drum of water, squatted with heavy stones, stretched her arms until they ached, and sometimes fell into mud. One morning, she was walking barefoot along the slippery riverbank. Her foot slipped and she tumbled into the water with a loud splash. Mama Ife shook her head, but laughed softly. "You will get stronger, child. Don't give up." But it was not just physical pain.
Amara's stomach grumbled seriously. She had learned to eat only herbs and simple food, but one day she found a small pound yam and soup with big meat that Mama Ife had cooked. She held it in her hand, staring at it. Could she cheat? Could she just eat it and give up the struggle? Her heart pounded. No, she whispered. I will not let them win. I will endure.
Even in the forest, villagers' voices seemed to echo. Rumors started immediately. She thinks she can change? Ha! She will fail. Why waste her time? She will never be beautiful. Amara forced herself to carry the heavy bucket, lift the stones, and run along the muddy riverbank. Every fall, every slip, every awkward stretch made her stronger. Mama Ife always comforted her. Your spirit is stronger than their laughter, Mama Ife said one evening, handing her a warm cup of herb tea. One day, Obi, the man who had refused to marry her, heard rumors that Amara had gone to the forest to glow up. He was curious and maybe a little jealous. Quietly, he sneaked through the trees towards Mama Ife's hut. From behind a bush, he peered outside. Amara was there, mid-exercise. Her hair was tangled and she struggled to lift a heavy bucket. She slipped, flailed, and fell in front of Iya Ife's hut. Obi's eyes narrowed. Even after all this nonsense, she is still the same. He stomped away angrily, muttering, no man will ever marry her. Ridiculous. Weeks passed. The herbs and exercises began to work. Her clothes felt looser. Her skin looked brighter and cleaner. Her hair was softer, though still damp from training. She walked taller, her chest lifted proudly. Villagers began to whisper, is that really Amara? She looks different, but still heavy and fat. But there were small changes, but the change was not big yet. Word reached the village that Amara had been training in the forest. Some men decided to check for themselves. One man came, curious. When he saw her, he shook his head. Still too big, still not clean enough. She will never make a good wife. Amara felt bad. Every rejection stung, but it reminded her why she was doing this. And Mama Ife kept on encouraging her and kept exercising. Mama Ife taught her more than herbs and exercises. She taught her to stand tall, speak clearly, and smile warmly. Amara practiced in mirrors. I am strong. I am capable. Their words do not define me. She learned to ignore insults. When villagers tried to tease her from afar, she held her head high, and they became more frustrated with each passing day. After weeks of hard work, Mama Ife gave her a special herbal bath. The water smelled sweet, and her skin glowed. Her hair was packed neatly, brighter fabrics worn. She looked into a mirror. I am seeing changes in myself, she whispered. After the day Amara left the village, everything became quiet. She did not come back from the forest. They went to the forest to peek. No sign of Amara there. 1 week passed, then another week, then many weeks. Soon months passed. No one saw her. No one heard her voice. No one saw her walking on the dusty road. The village slowly began to talk. She failed, one woman said at the well. She got tired, another replied. She ran away in shame, a third whispered. The men laughed under the big tree. We told you she would give up. Some people cannot change. She was wasting her time. At first, people spoke about Amara every day, then once a week, then once in a while, then not at all. Slowly, her name disappeared from the village. It was like she had never been there. But in the forest, far from their eyes, Amara was still walking, still training, still growing stronger. The village thought she was gone forever, but the truth was, she was preparing. The village did not stop. Market bees came and went, drums beat during small festivals, women sold peppers and yams, children ran in the dust, laughter filled the air. Weddings happened too. One girl got married, then another, then another. Music played, dancers danced, food was shared. No one called Amara's name. Some people even forgot what she looked like. Her father quietly missed her every day. Every morning, he stood outside their small mud house and looked toward the forest. He did not speak much. He only prayed silently. My child, he whispered, be strong. I know you can do this. In the forest, Mama Ife stayed silent. She said nothing to anyone. She simply watched Amara grow stronger every day. Where was Amara? What had she become? No one in the village knew. One hot afternoon, drums began to beat loudly in the village. Boom, boom, boom. A messenger ran into the square. "Listen," he shouted. "The prince is finally coming from a powerful kingdom nearby." People gathered quickly. "He is looking for a bride," the messenger continued. "He will choose a wife from this village." Excitement exploded everywhere. Girls screamed happily. "Finally! We have been waiting for this moment for long." Women clapped their hands. Families began to plan. Girls practiced walking slowly and smiling gently. Mothers pushed their daughters forward. "You must stand well. Smile properly. Walk like a queen." The village buzzed with joy. Then someone laughed. "Good thing Amara is gone." "Yes," another said. "Imagine if she showed up." "Ha! That would be shameful." They all laughed. They felt safe. They believed they would never see her again. Selection day begins. The day finally came. The village square was decorated with bright cloth and palm leaves. Drums beat loudly. People gathered everywhere. The prince arrived. He came with guards.
He came with elders. He came on a horse. He walked with calm strength. Everyone bowed. All the young women lined up in a long row. They stood tall. They smiled. They waited nervously. The prince began to walk slowly. He looked at the first girl, then the second, then the third. He kept walking. He did not stop. He did not choose anyone. Whispers began to spread. Why hasn't he chosen? Does he not like anyone? Who will he pick? The tension grew. The sun shone brightly. The drums grew softer. Everyone watched. Still, the prince did not choose. A young woman in a red wrapper. The prince paused. People gasped. He smiled politely. He nodded slightly. For a moment, the crowd thought, he will choose her. But he shook his head and continued walking. Whispers rose. Why not her? She is one of the beautiful girls in this village. Who will he choose? Excitement turned to anxious murmurs. The villagers fidgeted. Some girls bit their lips nervously. The tension was unbearable. Just when people thought the selection was over, someone appeared at the far end of the square. A figure, walking slowly, elegant. The sunlight touched her face. People peeked. Everyone and children stopped running. The drummers paused. Even the birds seemed to fall silent. Who is that? Someone whispered. She looks like royalty. She is not from here. The figure kept walking, step by step, slow, steady. Then one woman gasped loudly. Wait! No! It cannot be! It was Amara. The whole village froze. Women covered their mouths. Men stared with wide eyes. Some stepped back in shock. The same men who had laughed at her before could not speak, could not laugh, could not even look at her. Amara walked past them calmly. She did not shout. She did not show anger. She did not try to prove anything. She simply walked. Her head was high. Her steps were steady. Her face was calm. All eyes followed her. The square was silent. The prince notices her. The prince turned. He saw her. He stopped walking. Everything became quiet. He watched her carefully. Her posture, her confidence, her calm face, her strength. He looked at the villagers. Who is she? He asked. No one answered at first. Finally, someone whispered softly. That is Amara. But how did she transform? The prince looked surprised. Amara, he repeated. The prince began to walk again. He walked past every other girl in the line, one by one. He did not stop. He walked straight towards Amara. The whole village held its breath. He stopped in front of her. Silence. Then he spoke. I choose her. Gasps filled the air. Some people almost fell over. Others stared in disbelief. The same men who once mocked her looked down in shame. Women whispered, "We laughed at her, and now, look at her. This is unbelievable." Her father began to cry. Tears ran down his face as he stepped forward. "My child," he whispered, "finally you have found your husband." From the edge of the crowd, Mama Ife smiled proudly. She had known this day would come. The villagers felt regret. Some felt shame. Some felt shocked. But Amara stood tall, calm, strong, confident. The drums began to beat again, but this time they sounded different, stronger, happier. The girl they mocked, the girl they forgot, the girl they laughed at, was now the one the prince chose. They had no choice but to be happy for her. The prince stepped forward, gently taking Amara's hand. "Come with me," he said softly. "Together we will go to my village. Together we will build a life." Amara looked at the crowd one last time. No anger, no revenge, just a calm, proud smile. She walked with the prince, leaving the village behind. They were married in a grand celebration. The villagers came to see, and they marveled at her beauty and grace. Amara did not forget her past, but she no longer carried shame. Amara and the prince were happy. They laughed together. They shared stories under the sun, and soon a beautiful child was born. Amara held her little one in her arms, smiling. The prince watched her, eyes full of love. The girl they mocked, the girl they forgot, had become a queen, a mother, a legend. Amara, the girl who refused to stay small.